Welcome to our first class of AWS. In our first class, we'll learn everything we need to know about cloud computing fundamentals of AWS. Well, if you've seen my first introduction of AWS, well, you will already know a couple of things about it because there's going to be a lot of the things which I've recapped in this class because I've made a brief about it. Okay? So without any further ado, let's move on with our class by knowing what cloud computing fundamentals of AWS are. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including servers, storages, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet, which is also known as the cloud. And that is why it is called the cloud computing. To offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. So, now let's get into our key concepts, which are also quite similar to AWS. First off, we have on-demand self-services. Users can provision computing resources as needed automatically. You don't need to work extra time on these services. Those are going to be automatically based just by using algorithms and even AI by this time, without requiring human interaction with each service providers. Then we have is broad network access. Services are available over the internet and accessed through standard mechanisms that promote use by heterogeneous thin or thick client platforms. Well, all of those are also automatical because obviously there are a lot of gateways which people can get through, and all of them cannot be interacted with human. So all of the services which are on the cloud service act on it so that you get the broad access networking. Then we have is resource pooling. Providers computing resources are pooled to serve multiple consumers using a multi-tenant model, which is also an algorithm or a program. Okay? Then we have is rapid elasticity. Capabilities can be elastically provisioned and released to scale rapidly, outward and inward, commensurate with demand. Then we have is measured services. Cloud systems automatically control and optimize resources used by leveraging a metering capability, providing transparency for both the providers and also consumers. Obviously, if the service which you're taking is not liable or is not trusted, obviously you will not be able to use that, or people will not actually get into that service much often. To make sure that it is transparent, it is also done by a cloud system which automatically controls it and also interacts with you. Another thing which you need to know over here is about the optimization. A lot of services get together, a lot of services imply on one another and actually optimize your resources and also the resources given into the algorithm, and it also leverages the metering capability of it. Obviously, if you put in something or if you try to get into or get an access of something which you cannot get access or a normal person cannot get access, you will not be getting inside. Obviously, the metering capability comes in handy in this stage. Now, let's move on to our AWS Cloud Computing Services. Compute Services. EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud, which provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud, allowing users to run virtual servers instances as needed. Well, in my previous class or in the introduction, I've given you a small detail about each and every one of them, but I'm going to break them down and also briefly describe what they are actually used for. Then we have is Lambda, allows user to run code without provisioning or managing the server. Obviously, if a user is getting into the server and wants to get service, obviously not all the users will be able to run the code. So to make it more beginner friendly and so that it makes it user friendly, it is used by Lambda or Lambda actually makes it easier for the users. So users pay online only for the compute time consumed, and the rest of the time which the user is not using, they will not pay for it. Then we have is Elastic Beanstalk, which is an easy to use service for deploying and scaling web applications and services. Now you might think that this type of web application or a service or an app will only be used by AWS. No, if you want to make your own type of service, or if you want to get the help from these services and make your own web application, you can also do that. And you will be able to get that help from this Elastic Beanstalk service. Then we have is storage services. There are a couple of them, but most of them are very common. We have S3, which is the simple storage service, which provides the scalable object storage for data backup, archival, and also analytics. So you can think, or you can also come to conclusion that S3 is one of the most important one for actually the storage of data backup. Then we have is EBS, which is Elastic Block Store, which provides persistent block storage volumes for use with EC2 instances. So this also complements EC2, but it uses a specific small storage and of specific volume so that you can use it online. Then we have is Glacier, which offers low-cost storage for data archiving and long-term backup. Obviously, when you are making an online service, it's going to take up a lot of space, because if you see that you are getting a lot of users, obviously they're going to put their own resources inside of your server. Then what you have to basically do is make sure that you have a very big storage or a very big server where it can be stored. So Glacier comes in handy in those cases. Then we have is database services. Starts off with RDS, which is Relational Database Services. It actually simplifies setting up, operating, and scaling relational databases inside of the cloud. Obviously, if you just put in your data, it's not going to put in the data inside of your service just like that. It's going to obviously crack down what it actually means so that the algorithm or the program can understand what the user wants. So it actually simplifies the setting up and also the operation. Then we have is DynamoDB, which is a fast and flexible NoSQL database services for single-digit millisecond performances. Obviously, you can say something like a boot up, something like a search. Well, those things come in handy when DynamoDB is in use. Then we have is Aurora, which is a MySQL and PostgreSQL compatible relational databases, which is built for the clouds for the database services. This is a genuine service, which is Aurora. Then we have is networking. We have VPC at the beginning, which is a virtual private cloud, which is also used by EC2 most of the time. Then we have is that it allows user to create isolated networks within the AWS cloud. Obviously, when someone is making a service to give it out, okay, then it also has a high tendency to get cracked in or to get, let's say, a breach inside of that server. So it basically allows users to create an isolated network within the AWS cloud so they do not get out of that specific storage or that specific limit. Then we have is Route 53, which is a scalable domain name system, which is DNS, which is also a web service. Obviously, if you want to scale your domain, obviously you have to use Route 53. Then we have is CloudFront, which is a fast content delivery network, which is also known as CDN, which is a service that securely delivers data, videos, application, and APIs to customers globally. Well, just in case as an example, if you are searching anything on Google, Chrome, or any web browser, you get the result, right? Such as a video, such as a couple of links, maybe even images, news, and everything. So you can think of CloudFront something like that service. But what it basically does is that it delivers the data, video application, and APIs to the customers globally when they are using the AWS service. Then we have is security and identity. Starting off with IAM, which is identity and access management. It enables you to manage access to AWS services and resources securely. Then we have is KMS, Key Management Services. Makes it easy to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt the data when a person or when a user or a customer wants to get inside and get in the access of that specific service. Then we have is Cognito. Provides users sign up, sign in, and access control. Well, that is the work of Cognito. Then we have is Analytics. Athena, an interactive query service that makes it easy to analyze data in S3 using the standard SQL, which is used for data management or database. Then we have is Redshift, which is a fast, fully managed data warehouse that makes it simple and cost-effective to analyze all your data using standard SQL and existing businesses intelligence tool, such as Analytics tool and all of those. Then we have is EMR, which is Elastic MapReduce. Produces a managed Hadoop framework that makes it easy, fast, and cost-effective to process vast amounts of data across resizable clusters inside of your service. Then we have is machine learning and also AI. Now we are going to know about SageMaker, which is a fully managed service that provides every developer and data scientist with the ability to build. So just in case, as an example, you could be creating yourself your own program, your own application, and SageMaker basically helps you for that, which is also used for training and deploying machine learning models very quickly. Then we have is Rekognition. Analyzes images and videos for facial recognition and object detection, which is also used for security most of the times nowadays, such as face lock, face ID on your phones, or even on your devices. Then we have is Comprehend, which is a natural language processing, which is NLP in short, which is a service that uses machine learning to find insights and relationships in text. Well, relationships is basically kind of like the link of the text and how the algorithm actually understands it. Then we have is the developer tools, Code Commit, which is a source control service that makes it easy for teams to host secure and scalable Git repositories. Then we have is Code Build, which is a fully managed build service that compiles source codes, runs tests, and produces software packages that are ready to deploy. Then we have is Code Deploy, which is at the end, which automates code deployments to any instances, including EC2 instances and server running on premises. Then we have are the last two ones, which are management and also governance. The CloudWatch, which provides monitoring for AWS cloud resources and the applications you run on AWS. CloudTrail enables governance, compliance, and operational and risk auditing of your AWS account. The Config provides AWS resource inventory, configuration history, and configuration change notification. Well, obviously, if you have done anything inside of your server or your service, obviously you need the configuration change and also you need the notification so that you are notified. Then the last one or the last service we have is application integration, SNS, simple notification service. This is a managed service that provides messages directly from publishers to subscribers, such as sending a message to the customers from the sellers. Okay. Then we have is SQS, which is simple queue service, which is a fully managed message queuing service that enables you to decouple and scale microservices, distributed system, and also serverless applications. Well, obviously, SQS also works offline. Then we have step functions. Makes it easy to coordinate the components of distributed applications and microservices using visual workflows. Hope you understood everything about this class on how the cloud computing service works. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So without any further ado, let's move on to our next class.